analyze how weakened legitimacy may lead to a new revolution in the Kyrgyz Republic, challenging its sovereignty. Also examine how IGOs are involved in it. This presentation analyzes how intergovernmental organizations are posing challenges to the sovereign state, with sovereignty, legitimacy, and power as a key concept, and security as a global political challenge. I'll be mostly using regional and national levels of analysis, as it is closely related to the case study, but I will also be touching the global level of analysis. The term intergovernmental organization refers to an entity created by treaty involving two or more nations to work in good faith on issues of common interest. This means that allowing international governmental organizations, IGOs, to have more influence on a country may benefit it. However, the country should be willing to accept the more fluid definition of sovereignty. In comparison with NGOs, IGO's influence has not improved life in developing countries. Member states need to resolve occurring issues through collective actions, which can become a challenge to the state's own sovereignty. Meanwhile, states that choose to join IGOs can become the key contributor to it. The greater power that an IGO has, the greater is the influence of the member countries in politics and economics. This at the same time empowers the sovereignty of the states. Introduction to case study. As a case study, we are going to analyze how CIS and Eurasian Economic Union, both formed in the post-Soviet states, affect the sovereignty of Kyrgyzstan. Let's not forget to mention that Kyrgyzstan is also a member of IGOs with totally different perspectives. This can give rise to separatist views inside of the states and become a huge challenge to its sovereignty. While I was making this presentation, a massive protest started in Kyrgyzstan. On the night of October the 5th, after a parliamentary election, protesters stormed the parliament. Soon the election committee annulled the results, and Prime Minister Gubatbek Baranov stepped down on Wednesday. Now protesters cannot agree on who should lead a new government, and each group wants their own leader to take power. Protesters threw stones and clumps of each other and opened the gunfire, turning the country into chaos. And this is not the first time that election ended with mass protest. In 2005 as well as in 2010, elections were observers, including people from CIS, held the election result as fair, but after mass protests, the results were annulled and new elections were organized with support of OSCE. Claim both CIS and Eurasian Economic Union are challenging the sovereignty of Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan entered the CIS Commonwealth of Independent States in April 12, 1994, and Eurasian Economic Union on August 6 of 2015. After the treaty to enter the Union became a first, there was the first challenge to its sovereignty by the Eurasian Economic Union, as states have the main right to choose whether to enter the IGO or not. So this was followed with challenges on the economic front. After becoming a member of the World Trade Organization in 1998, Kyrgyzstan adopted a liberal trade regime. This gave it the ability to benefit from massive exports of Chinese goods to neighboring countries and Russia. Within this framework, the trade sector became a driver of economic growth and a source of employment for about 50% of the Kyrgyz labor force, following his decision to join the Eurasian Economic Union. However, it became clear that re-export activity would chase given the anticipated end of the differential in import tariffs. Kyrgyzstan was the second-first country in the former Soviet Union, and before entering the Eurasian Economic Union was the second-first country in Central Asia. According to the CIA World Factbook, in 2011, a third of the country's population lived below the poverty line. And even after entering Eurasian Economic Union, GDP kept falling till 2014. The less discussed feature of this period is the appreciation of the Kyrgyzstan against both the Russian ruble and the Kazakh tenge, which inducted an increase in imports of goods from Eurasia Economic Union member states. Kazakhstan's central bank depreciated the tenge to maintain its previous parity with the ruble, but the Kyrgyz National Bank did not follow its lead. It intervened heavily to keep the national currency strong for fear of harming its highly dollarized economy. Therefore, instead of exporting its agricultural products, Kyrgyz producers suddenly faced competition from Kazakh, Russian, and Belarusian companies in its domestic market. This created public disillusionment with the Kyrgyzstan government decision to join the Eurasia Economic Union, even though the exchange rate developments were not directly connected to interrogation efforts. These negative statements have intensified with the continuous struggles of agricultural exporters whose exports have been banned by both Kazakh and Russian regulatory bodies on the ground of food quality and safety. At the same time, a CIS member Russia has been arguing that Russian language received official status in all of the CIS member states. So far, Russia is an official language in only 4 of the states: Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. There was not only a challenge to the sovereignty of the states, but also to their identity. Conclusion. Um, Counterclaim. CIS and Eurasian Economic Union are empowering the sovereignty of Kyrgyzstan. The Eurasian Economic Union is kind of safety valve for Kyrgyzstan, a country which has experienced two political revolution and inner ethnic conflict. It releases the stain of unemployment and disconnect. The IRI found that 36% and 42% strongly and solidly support the Eurasian Economic Union respectively. Kamidov explains that staying in CIS and Eurasia Economic Union is obviously not the greatest solution, but it can work for a long enough time as it helped to empower the country in a political area and develop peacefully. Conclusion. This case study was a good example of what weakened legitimacy and letting IGOs to be involved into government might turn into. In this case, it not only became a huge threat to the country's sovereignty, but also security, becoming one of the main causes of mass protests every 5 years. I think even inside of the IGO, each country should work for their own benefit as a first priority, unless they will just be easily influenced. Thank you, that was all. It took me almost 8 minutes to finish it.
Global